Welcome to the Neutral Zone.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. So many men sold away. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and faith. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his face. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name. But what puzzling you is the nature of my game.
Good morning. Aloha, everyone. I'm Jason Schwartz, and this is the Neutral Zone. It's anything but neutral. I am here with a very special guest today. You're going to meet him in just a moment, Steve Rose. The Neutral Zone has been created because I've been pretty tired of seeing people slicing each other up, whether it's in social media, on Facebook, or some of the other things where we see a lot of conversations and people don't talk about issues. They fight and take sides and get polarized, and that's not the way I am. I like to talk to everyone and let it all be out there in a loving, neutral way. Doesn't mean we don't hear opinions here, far from it, but we just don't take heads, if you will. Good morning. I'm here with Steve Rose. How are you, Steve?
I'm wonderful. As we like to say, I'm hemptastic today.
He's a funny guy. You know, I have a list of H's. When I think of issues, I think of healing, housing, hydrogen, Hawaiians, homelessness, happiness, healthcare, and hemp. How could we do something without talking about hemp? So, are you here representing you and any organizations and ideas? What's your situation?
I am the chief executive Hempster of the Maui Hemp Institute for Research and Development. We're a nonprofit that came together about a little over 4 years ago. A bunch of us hempsters got together, seeing the hemp industry on its way to Maui, so we created the Institute to kind of be the big guy on the block between the money and the economics that are coming here and us that actually live here, and make sure that the hemp really kind of integrates into our society here on Maui.
I'm going to interrupt in one way, and that is hemp. Some of you know the word marijuana, and some of you know you've heard things about CBD oils, THC, all kinds of letters. We're going to get some clarification here. You're an advocate of hemp. That means whatever's going on with marijuana legalization for the purposes of smoking, for recreational or medicinal, that may or may not be involved with you, but you're not talking about smoking marijuana. That's not what we're talking about. What are we talking about?
Well, we're all talking about the cannabis plant, okay? And the ancient Hebrew word was cannabosum. Cannabis has been around as long as human civilization has been around. Food, fiber, medicine, and all kinds of other effects come out of this plant. Over time, the plant is diversified, kind of like tomatoes. You got beefsteak and cherry tomatoes, or mushrooms. You got shiitake mushrooms, psilocybic mushrooms. Well, hemp and cannabis marijuana, which is Cannabis sativa indica, are all part of the same family. The hemp is the member of the family that has no THC in it, so it doesn't get you high. You'd have to smoke a telephone pole, as a joke, of hemp to even think about getting high, and you probably just couldn't do that. So we're really talking about the plant without the THC in it right now. It's a cultivar called hemp. It's legal to grow in America under the Farm Act of 214. The state has passed a program basically to allow our farmers to cultivate hemp, and we've actually planted the first test crops on the island, and they've actually been harvested. So we're underway with the testing, and hopefully by early next year we'll start to doing some significant planting on the island of this incredible plant.
Let me ask you a funny question. People that I know that have marijuana and grow it even, some of them, say that when they don't want hemp, or some of them, because if you grow hemp, when the seeds get in the air, sort of like a Monsanto thing, but when the seeds get in the air, it will sterilize all the marijuana plants and they'll all become hemp.
Well, Unfortunately, this is more of a rumor than fact. It was used to spread, actually, to help keep both sides of the
What a
conversation
surprise.
under check. The research and a lot of the growers that we've spoken to, the hemp plant basically, a lot of it's going to be grown from female clones, so there is no pollen. The male puts out the pollen. And even when the pollen is released, it's only active for 4 or 5 hours, and any kind of moisture will knock that pollen out of the air. So unless you're growing a field of hemp next to a few marijuana plants, chances are there won't be any cross-pollination. But that's one of the reasons we created the Institute. That's one of the first scientific studies we want to do here. As soon as we can plant hemp now, we still can't plant the marijuana yet, but we're going to get some permits and we're going to start to test that out. But for now, where the hemp is being grown is nowhere near where our backwoods growers are growing their indicas and sativas. So for the near future, the next couple of years, that's not an issue. We're hoping by the time if it comes down to that point, we'll have some good answers. None of the real growers out there are really afraid of it. It's just the rumors and everything seem to be the main scare tactic right now. Most of the place where we're planting hemp, actually the wind blows it out to the sea, and most of that hemp, again, is female without pollen. So there is not an issue right now. In the future, we'll have to see, but that's why we created an institute. We're going to do that research, and we'll keep people informed as we learn.
So that's for all of you viewers who may have ever had notions about marijuana. Don't worry, you can still get high if you want and still use it for medicinal purposes. Is there legislation going on now that in any way is critically important for what you're doing, or your laws are where they need to be?
Well, we had a major breakthrough. Let me clarify. So under the 214 Farm Act, the federal government said that if a state passes a program for farmers where they can track that it's hemp and not marijuana, which means there's no THC in it, both hemp and marijuana, unfortunately, are still Schedule 1, although that's going to be changing pretty soon.
Schedule 1 meaning from the health people.
Meaning it's worse than opium or Oxycontin, okay? And it's
Once
not,
again.
but that's
so it's
Schedule 1.
Schedule, that's what he's talking about, schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so under that Farm Act, basically hemp is being grown, and the medicines that are coming out, the CBD medicines are coming out of hemp, are legal. Many states, there are over 30 states now that have hemp growing. Over 40,000 acres is probably being planted this year on the mainland of hemp. So it's becoming a major crop. We're now basically had some good news a couple of weeks ago. Senator McConnell basically injected hemp language into the new federal farm bill, which is to be passed in September. And this is a very pro-hemp legislation. It actually deschedules hemp and makes it more like corn to grow. That has to go to the House for passage, but we're very encouraged that the House will probably adopt the Senate's wording. So that should be passed by the end of September, which will kind of open up the fields literally for growing hemp. And states have jumped on it. You know, New York passed the hemp bill only last year, and they planted 3,000 acres of hemp this year. And many states are jumping on the bandwagon. It's actually in Kentucky, it's replacing all the old tobacco fields. People are growing hemp now. The kids are coming back to the farm. That's one of the reasons Senator McConnell's behind it. It's all his constituents that are now making money growing hemp. So, you know, hemp is here. It's coming forward. It's coming to Maui. And part of our objective at the Institute is to educate an island. We want people to understand what hemp is and that it's not going to get people high. It's actually going to be a great economic boost to all segments of our economy.
You've been able to do things with it already here. Anything that you want to be sharing for the public to know?
Well, we're really on a test basis right now. We've had 2 test plots grown. One was harvested last week. One is actually, I think, being harvested today. These are under state contract. And
Phone, they're loud. No, what I was really thinking, Steve, was about building. You've used it as building material and structures. Is that something people can do now? I guess they could.
Well, we have one house. Actually, the first hemp house in Hawaii was completed 2 years ago. It's a custom house where hemp was used basically as an insulation. When you take the fibers from the hemp plant and mix it with lime, you have something called hempcrete. 3 times stronger than concrete, mold and mildew resistant, and often fireproof, depending on how it's put together.
Wow, it's very exciting. Did you guys hear that? How is it compared money-wise?
Well, we import 100% of our building materials to Maui. We can grow it. One of the proposals that we're starting to get into the political arena, and a lot of the politicians have jumped on board, and I'll keep them all nameless right now. But the long-term plan is to basically take the R2 water, which is a major problem. This is the water that comes out of our sewer facilities, and they can't pump it into the ocean, and they can't pump it anywhere else. They've watered every golf course they can. So
The gray water.
the gray water and injection wells are not an answer, but we can take that gray water and grow hemp with it. The hemp is one of the best soil remediation plants on the planet. We're going to do some more studies on that, but it has deep roots. When it grows, it actually takes all the toxins and heavy metals out of the soil and also captures them out of the water. So the idea is to use this gray water to grow hemp on all those dry ranch lands behind our sewer facilities, and then take that hemp and build houses with it.
So I think that it's worthy of saying that all again, because hemp, which, you know, we hear and everyone talks about lightly, is a major potential solution for processing of sewage, is a major potential solution for building materials for homes, that we can grow the materials here. That's like on my platform, which is self-sustainability for Maui Island.
Exactly.
Right.
And a minor byproduct of all that is we wind up with cleaner reefs, because none of that stuff gets up in the
How's
ocean.
that?
So here's a plant that's basically, you know, changing the planet. Cannabis all over the world right now is coming into its fold. It's becoming popular again. Countries are legalizing it across the board, not even worrying about the THC in a lot of countries. It's becoming the economic booster, you know, and again, coming here, our plan is to basically, when we grow enough hemp, is to build that first house with cooperation from the unions and the county and everybody in the building industry, so we get it permitted. You can build a hemp house right now, but you can't meet a lot of permit requirements. So if you have a custom house, you can spend money and get around it. But if you want to build houses in mass, we need to get permitting in place. So we want to grow enough hemp and have the Institute kind of put together the building of this first house or building. And then once that gets done and permitted, then we can start building literally hundreds and hundreds of homes, 100 acres of hemp. Okay, and we get 3 crops a year here on Maui. That's one of the prizes of Maui in our growing season. 100 acres of hemp, I'm told, can build 3 3-bedroom houses, and not mini houses. I mean, places where people and their families can actually live. And the way we do it is we basically take the hempcrete and we make almost like Lego blocks out of it. And then you sit down with your Lego set and design your house, and then you stack your blocks. And by next year, you'll be able to get a Tesla roof at Home Depot. You pop on a Tesla roof with some batteries, run in some water and sewage, and we've got housing very, very reasonable, very quickly, too.
Now, what's nice about our shows, we're not only on Facebook Live and KAKU, where you'll see it, we're on my page, MauiNeutralZone.com. We'll probably have a link to his pages. This information, in just a nutshell, you just heard a fantastic, excuse me, a little commentary, fantastic thing that we can do to be self-sufficient and create housing solutions, affordable housing solutions, quickly. Without, is there legislation when you're talking about needing permits and things? Is that a pretty direct process, or is it something that can get bogged down?
Well, it can get bogged down, and that's why our plan is to get everybody involved from day one.
That's why we're doing this.
We're even when we planted the first hemp fields on Maui this year. We had one of the best Hawaiian farmers as the head farmer overlooking the project. Our spiritual advisor for the Maui Hemp Institute is Lehu Ryder. She wrote a special pule. We blessed the land with a special Hawaiian pule before we planted the first hemp seed on Maui. So we're trying to do things right from the beginning. You know, bring everybody engaged, get everybody involved. The only time you get into a lot of bureaucracy is when someone gets too far ahead, and then people try and reel them back in. So we're trying to bring everybody along. It's been a long haul. Basically, hemp has been banned for over 140 years growing in this country, and that's a long history.
So would this need a state, are there state legislation pieces you need, or is it county regulations can do it? How does that work?
Well, we're growing the hemp is under state permit, and we're working to modify the process, and that's not going to be a problem in growing it. The thing are just building codes, you know, support for structures and things like that. They're not designed for hemp. They're designed for, you know, wooden beams and steel beams and sheetrock. So we have to do some changes.
In the wording, really, because it sounds like they want something that's strong and that they're looking for things that will do the things they need to think are safe.
Well, there are
not
set codes, so
overcomable.
it just has to be made that everything meets the code, which is not a problem. I mean, in places like Romania, they're building mansions out of hemp right now. If you go on our Facebook page, Maui Hemp Institute, there's some links to some beautiful houses being built in Europe, domes, 4-story buildings. You know, the hemp is integrated in many different ways. It's also a material used in a lot of cars now. They're making hemp plastic. So a lot of Lotuses and Ferraris have hemp doors and hemp inside paneling, you know, and that's only the beginning of it, because once we get the hemp growing on the island, the next big step is food. You know, hemp protein, the seeds from the hemp plant are the most nutritious protein-wise. They have omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids in it. You can make hemp milk. You can make hemp foods. It's one of the last key plants that we need on this island. You know, we have plants that produce starch like ulu and kalo. We have plants that produce green energy like moringa, and those are already being grown. We don't have a high protein plant, so this is going to be the high protein plant that'll be part of our basically food forest mix that we're working. We have a food forest project going on the west side.
Let me ask you a question, because, you know, this is my experience again, that things have been said to move slowly around here because those with the power and the money like to keep in place and in process things that they've been doing. That's their power structure. From what I'm hearing I'm hearing what you're doing as independent, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could work with people that already have the money and the power, which would, I want to say, like Davy and Goliath, throw a little stone in the right place if someone were to be able to own it, and we wouldn't take away their ownership of which is what seems to be their issue. A lot of this could happen. There's plenty of available land. There are many people that want to do things with their land, and obviously we're talking about people that have some of the resources that could move many of these projects forward. Like you hear me talking about need for housing or health. Seems like you're talking about all of them, and we wouldn't have to change whose power it is.
Well, hemp is hope. It's hope to kind of modify things. You know, it's actually going back. It's actually going back to the old days, because hemp was used for clothing and food and medicines before the 1930s. There's a wonderful book called The Emperor's New Clothes that talks all about the history of hemp and how it was banned. And if you go on YouTube, you can get overwhelmed by the amount of information. But you know, Vince Meaner of our Farmers Union coined the phrase, hemp, Hawaiian economic money producer. And that's what it's going to do. It's going to create so many new industries. It's going to take old industries. I mean, we make a lot of concrete on this island. We just won't have to import the other components like the cement from the mainland and take a lot of sand out of the sand dunes.
Well, that's why I'm saying
Yeah.
It sounds like this is, like you say, a something that seems like it's impossible, that we've had it in our midst and amongst us for so long. I'm just making sure that, is that 23? I got to put my glasses on. We're good. Boy, as I get older, I can't see. We still got a few minutes before our break. Yeah, so what I'm very impressed with, number one, you don't come empty-handed. You come with a great deal of knowledge, which I really like, because part of what we do is we're delivering information to those out there that are still saying, yeah, but I know there's somewhere there that's got to be there. No, that is not what's going on. You know, science and the world has shown that something that was good and great before, which in our infinite whatever we do, legislated it out of our world, cleared it out of our world, and put us at a loss, we now can remember the good things from before. You're a champion for a really great thing. I'm very happy to have you here with us.
Well, thank you. Well, it's also back to things that worked that were replaced by things that didn't work as well but made a few people very rich.
Here we go.
You know, I mean, part of the banning hemp had to do with Mr. Hearst owning forests of trees, and he wanted to print his paper newspapers. He owned most of the press back in the 1930s on newspaper from his trees, not from hemp paper, which was the norm. Mr. DuPont invented a new way to work the cotton gin and was developing nylon, and everybody was wearing hemp clothes back then. So another reason for hemp being banned. The pharmaceutical industry was just starting out then, but basically cannabis was in all the medicines before the 1930s. And what we're seeing now in states like Colorado, where cannabis is legal, opiate sales have dropped by like $2 billion across the mainland, with people using CBDs instead of opiates. So, and this is just a very common extraction from the hemp plant. It's something that's always been in our body. Our body produces the active ingredients in the hemp plant are called cannabinoids, and our body actually produces cannabinoids. So, the body is basically being supplemented by the cannabinoids from the plant, because the body's own capability of producing these cannabinoids has been basically challenged over the years by our poor diets and our environment. Our body doesn't produce the cannabinoids it needs, so when you can take them in from the plant, you get an instant response. There are people now on CBD is very common out there. It's one of the active cannabinoids that comes out of the plant. It's non-psychoactive. It basically triggers the receptors in the body's what's called the endocannabinoid system, and it triggers the receptors to remind the body what healthy cells look like. And there are people with just miraculous stories. I mean, ask anybody you know who's taking CBDs why, and they'll tell you more about it than I can, because when your best friend, says, wow, these CBDs are awesome, then you start to look into it, and maybe we'll look past all the sales pitch of the past 100 years that have gotten us away from those kind of natural products.
Well, yeah, I'm really, like I say, you succinctly put it together here, and I guess that's why you're running the Institute. And you talk about Vince and the Hawaii Organic Farmers Union. Isn't it nice to see we have such a small island, thoughtful, caring people that are working together to solve the problems of our island. In this new election that we have coming up, we hear all kinds of things going on. Is there anyone, you don't want to name names. When I hear it, I'm always thinking, is there some reason you don't want to name it? Maybe people just still are afraid of people's paranoia when you say the word cannabis. That may be all.
Well, the only reason I don't name names is the Institute is trying to be non-political. We are our only advocate for the hemp plant. So it's really chance. But I can say that I've spoken to all the mayoral candidates. They're all pro-hemp. Actually, one of them came up with the idea of the sewer water, and I'll let that person bring it out in their campaign. Hopefully they will. And I know the other two will jump on it. It's out there now, so jump on it.
We jumped on it, so now it's out.
So, that's out there.
Fantastic.
The Institute's job is to do the research, put it out there, and make it available, that it's credible research that politicians can work with and go from there.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be back really soon at the Neutral Zone. If I can find the button here. I can't see. Let me get my glasses on, and we're going to go to a commercial break, unless he's already done it.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Shaggy, critical thinker, problem solver, guy just left of normal and sane, but always centered in common sense, and with a brand new showtime. Catch me Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. and then for the replay, 7 p.m. immediately after Democracy Now! For news, headlines, and a bit of common sense, it's the Shaggy Jenkins Show Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. on KAKU.
Funding for KAKU, the voice of Maui, is provided in part by
having the guts to go in and just say, I go through and I don't care what happens. It aches, and if I fall down, I have no fear of fainting.
Fit or Fatality Gym, personal training and pro-level supplement center, located at 982 Lower Main Street, Wailuku. For more information, call 808-895-2567.
KAKU-FM 88.5.
Hawaii Youth Service Directory is online at 808youth.com. We envision a Hawaii where all youth are connected to the support they need to walk a pono path towards health, happiness, and abundance. 808youth.com is a free, easy-to-use online directory funded by the Office of Youth Services. If you're looking for a family-friendly event, check out our events calendar and connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Wow, look at that. It looks like we're back on the air. There's someone here, they say, for me. Whoever they are, they're going to have to wait a little while. Again, I'm here with Steve Rose from the, what do you call the institute?
It's the Maui Hemp Institute for Research and Development.
Maui Hemp Institute. Does it have a website?
We have a website, mauihempinstitute.org. Okay. Wonderful website, lots of information. There's a video show, a TV show I did, Maui Causes, which is a little more detailed than we'll get into today on certain topics. But it links to a lot of different things. We also have a Facebook page where I post all the current hemp info from around the world, so you can see it's just not isolated here on Maui. It's a little bit bigger than that.
Well, that's great. You mentioned Maui Causes. Last week our guest was Sam Small of Maui Causes. It's very funny but true. I'm mentioning it again, that if people want to bring out things that are going to help our island, there is a network of people that are thoughtful, caring, and open. And there are also people that are running for office, and some of them are thoughtful, caring, and open. But you got to discover it. And so we hope to be somewhat of a roadmap, but we rely on you to make the choice. You're not going to see me with a slate of candidates, although I can tell you about all of them. If anyone that gets in office, if they will listen to facts and be open to listening, this is surely one of those things that I don't think has any chance of being. Who would want to block you?
We don't have any opponents, and I don't want to see any, but we haven't come up with any. Everybody, it's a win-win situation, which always gets people enthused about it. I'm willing to go out and educate. If you have a group and would like me to come talk, I'm available to talk. I love doing radio and TV. Our goal this year is called Educate an Island, Hemp is Hope. So we're trying to educate everybody out there what hemp is about. That's why I'm on this show. That's why we're looking for people to support the Institute as members or as sponsors. We need a message to get out to this island. So when the island starts turning green, people understand what's happening, and those mountains are going to be green in a couple of years with hemp.
Well, I have one sponsor I'm going to mention now. I didn't hear him on the last run. TheMauiMiracle.org is a website, that's one of my sponsors, of someone that really believes that the Maui green needs to be. And he's not specifically being hemp, but he's interested in the land. And so many people here are interested in keeping Maui what really brought you here if you were coming, and what you enjoyed before we were here.
Well, we have two models for regreening the island as we speak, okay? And one of them we've already started on the west side with James Simpliciano at Simply Fresh Farms, and that's the Food Forest Project.
Right.
And basically the food forest is a 600 wide side of a mountain of forest, mango trees, papaya, moringa, ulu, windbreaking 600-foot rows in between where we can actually grow crops. And that's all started with planting hemp because, like I said, hemp is one of the first soil remediation factors. Roots go down deep. It breaks up the soil. It pulls out the heavy metals and all the stuff. We've had pages and pages of stuff thrown into our soil by commercial agriculture over the past 140 years or so.
Sounds like when we were in the Wizard of Oz, the yellow brick road was made with hemp bricks.
Well, I wouldn't doubt it. The pyramids may have been made of hemp bricks. They're looking at the micro things in there, and there's some theories out that some of those bricks were actually poured with hempcrete. That's since fossilized into bricks, but lots of theories out there. But our food forest is awesome because the hemp is needed for a windbreak. That's the number one thing our farmers read right now. You can't grow food on a lot of our mountainsides. The wind will knock down the crops. So
a windbreak. So how tall do these hemp plants grow?
Hemp. There are hundreds of different cultivars or different types of hemp, like different types of tomatoes. Some cultivars will grow 10 to 16 feet in 8 weeks and won't put out seeds, so there is no cross-pollination, and those are good for windbreak, almost like a bamboo. Hemp doesn't look like a marijuana plant in most of its forms. It looks more like bamboo. It's planted very closely together. It's very thick and grows very high. The harvest that we just did, the hemp was only planted about less than 3 months ago. So we're talking a very fast-growing plant with very deep roots.
And how do you feed these plants?
It's basically, everybody jokes, but hemp is a weed. So if you throw the seed in the ground, it'll grow. If you want to grow it tall or bigger, then you have to grow your soil first, and that's what the Farmers Union's been working really hard on, is getting the soil broken up and enriching your soil, and then the hemp will grow in that wonderful medium. It's part of making it a better medium. In a pretty wet spot, if it's wet when you plant in the hemp and a couple of rainfalls, you'll get a crop. If you're going for a high output of hemp, then you probably have to run some irrigation. Estimates are it uses about 1/3 of the water that traditional pineapple and sugar used on the island, although I even think it's even less. But again, no one's done the studies. That's why we create an institute. A lot of this has just been hearsay and speculation.
Have you approached some of the large landowners about these kinds of things as yet?
We are basically waiting for them all to come to us. We're educating people what it's about. And we're not trying to sell hemp to anybody. We're not going to be growing any hemp on the institute level except for research. We really believe in private enterprise, but we want to support that private enterprise.
I hope that all you, I'm always talking to those that have the power to make change happen without legislation. Here we go.
Well, if they look into hemp, people ask me, well, what about, the old sugar lands? Well, anybody who would intelligently look into hemp would not plant anything else but hemp to start getting those sugar lands back into shape. So to me, it's not an issue. It's nothing I have to sell. It's just a matter of the people who, like you say, the powers that be, getting educated.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up now. And, I hope that these kinds of shows that we do here can be a resource because, like anything, the housing or anything that we're talking about, if people would understand that we have all, I've said that so many times, we have all that we need to be able to be self-sustainable if we would just have those that have the power and authority. So I'm talking to all the candidates, all the people in office, all the people with money and power. Well, please, I say it nicely, wake up.
Well, we have all the solutions on this island, too.
Yes.
I've been involved, I've been on Maui 20 years. I ran the Made in Maui Trade Association for 8 years back in the early 90s, helped get it back on its feet again.
Right.
Big supporter of Maui products. Adding Maui hemp to any products will basically increase the value of that product. People want to make specialized Maui hemp products, Maui CBDs. Those will be other value-added industries that will get added to it. But going around the island, watching farming, for 20 years, we've got the answers here. We don't have the answer if you want cow's milk and Cheerios, but we do have the answer, if you want callo and breadfruit and moringa, and a nutritious diet. And we have some of our chefs cooking up some of the most awesome foods with these ingredients, totally nutritious, all grown on Maui. It's just a matter of changing some taste buds, opening up some other distribution systems. It's one of the reasons I started a farmer's market many, many years ago, was to get those farm goods directly to the people on the island.
Now, he mentioned fun. He's really a good guest. He doesn't even make me guess on what to think about. Many of you live in Kihei. Raise your hand. Okay. A lot of people live in Kihei. When you want to get fruits and vegetables and fresh things that are healthy, where do you go? Well, there's maybe one or two or a handful of places in town. But if you want to get fresh fruit and vegetables every week and know that you're also supporting our local economy in a big way, where do you go?
The Lipoa Street Farmers Market.
Lipoa Street Farmers
Every
Market.
Saturday, 8:30 in the morning.
Great.
And we're actually going to start our 9th year in 2 weeks. So we're the best kept secret in South Maui.
I imagine you guys are sold out every time you put something out.
Well, we don't let anybody until 8:30 after our farmers set up. Everything is 100% Maui grown. Most of it's certified organic. The rest is clean and organic. And this week by 10 o'clock, the tables were empty.
Isn't that exciting?
It's very exciting. And
but it also shows where, in my mind, we really could use more of you. Or
well, it's not more farmers markets. Now we need more farmers. When I started the market 9 years ago, there was no farmers markets on the island that really had Maui produce. Now we've got about 11. So our farmers that can do farmers markets are getting stretched. So we need to get more farmers that can come to the markets. So we're really working with the Farmers Union again on their apprenticeship program and encouraging younger farmers to come down. So it's now a matter of, keeping the supply up with the customer base, because people now are coming out for their organic veggies.
Do we ever think about taking over some of these retail spaces and turning into hydroponic growing chambers?
Well, hydroponics is one of those topics kind of on the borderline, because it's not really organic, some of the hydroponics with what they use. And we have such wonderful soil on Maui and such wonderful growing conditions. And if you look at we have a Facebook page, the Lipoa Street Farmers Market. I call it my veggie porn section. Some of the most gorgeous vegetables anybody's ever seen are on those pages.
So that's interesting that you bring it up, because I was just thinking about all these buildings that are staying empty. So
the problem with the buildings is
things outside and sell them inside. I keep wondering about, every time I see a thing from Amazon, I think, God, am I going to buy that great deal and keep getting rid of retail? You can't get rid of delivery of produce, so we need big stores.
And retail is changing. The problem with a brick and mortar or fixed stores is, someone owns it, someone's got to pay taxes, there's rent, there's insurance, and farmers basically, we're lucky to get them. They get up at 4 a.m. to open our market at 8:30. So by noon when they get home, they've had a day. And it's nice because they can bring down their veggies and sell them directly to the customers. There are no employees involved. Some of our farmers never met the people. One of our farmers had been growing broccoli for 8 years, never met his customers till he actually came down to the market to fill in for the replacement guy and started meeting his customers. Now it's probably his favorite thing he does every week is go to the farmers markets. So
what kind of storage do they have for veggies? Do you have to kind of keep it all very fresh, I'd imagine?
Yeah, it's all fresh, and unfortunately most of our fruits and vegetables come from the mainland. A lot of them, most of the bananas, we import millions and millions of pounds of bananas, and they're all green in Costa Rica and sprayed with chemicals and put on refrigerated ships. And, when they get out of the ship and actually make it to the restaurant, they start to turn yellow, but God knows how old they are, and, we have apple bananas here that, just ripen over a day. And, we had 6 different kinds of bananas probably at the market in the past couple of months. So it's a different type of food. It's a fresh food. There's things that we grow here you can't get anywhere else. Our mangoes, our star fruits, our dragon fruits are coming in now. And that's where hemp kind of comes back into the fold again. It's the protein in there. I can't wait till we can actually have, hemp products at the farmers markets, because that's going to be a good venue for the small producers to sell at. And it's also going to be a way to get farms started. If you had an acre of land right now, and you put an electric fence around it, and you grew a crop of hemp, okay, and you harvest the hemp, and you do what you do with the hemp. So the hemp has begun to break up the soil. When you harvest, you have a lot of material left over. So our dream is that we have traveling herds of goats. You let the goats into the wired fence area. They eat everything that's left, okay, enrich the soil, and then we have goat milk, goat meat, goat cheese. When the goats are done, we let in the chickens. And the chickens peck what's left, and we have omega-3 eggs and organic chickens. And after the goats and the chickens are done, you got a farm, because your soil has been amended by the goats and the chickens and everything else.
So can we, I don't know if we can take soil that has had chemical pesticides and all that stuff before and clean them on up?
Yeah, and it may be a couple of crops of hemp. That's one of the research studies we really got to start on. We tested the soil for the first planting before. We'll do it after. But, this is going to take more sophisticated testing. Our dream here is to really build a Hemp Institute campus here, where we'd have the labs, have the research facilities, have the media lab where we can document everything, put this information out to the public. We're talking a $30, $40 million campus of hemp research, and we're a better place for people to come to do research than on Maui. We have lots of international companies we're in discussions with that want to set up some operations here. They want to come here for research. They don't want to come here. They can grow their profit-making CBDs much better on the mainland, where they have thousands of acres to grow on. But we got 3 crops a year on Maui. We have 30 microclimates. So if you're trying to develop a seed for a certain area somewhere in the world, Maui's the place to do it. And we've had a lot of inquiries. We're going to start some major projects, hopefully, with these companies in the next year or so. And that's very exciting because that's going to hire and create jobs. We created our first job with this test planting. One of our local farmers was hired to actually be there, be the farmer on site doing the work. So we created our first job, which was pretty awesome. And farm jobs at $25 an hour are not easy to come by, believe it or not. You know, so this was really good. And we'll be creating thousands of jobs for research. Most of the companies that want to come here too, they don't want to come buy the land and create plantations. They really want to work with our farmers. You know, they're international companies and they've worked with indigenous people, they've worked with local economies, and they really want to come in and see what Maui's about, support us at a local level, and let the people have the land, grow the hemp on their land. They just want the research out of it.
And you've made it pretty clear here that the land that could be growing hemp or would be growing hemp would also then create land that would be able to do many more things than hemp and help that self-sustainability. That's my old theme song. So I am just really thrilled to be speaking with you. And like I say, if you need produce, 8:30, but you got to be pretty timely. You have beautiful produce there. I mean, I've never seen anything but really top quality stuff.
Well, it's a private market. I created the market so I could get my produce. I've been a vegetarian since the early 80s, and I had to travel to the other side of the island to get avocados. So I said I needed a farmer's market. It took me a couple of years to find the location. We're blessed by a landlord that doesn't charge our farmers rent. We just cover the insurance. We don't charge the farmers. They come in, they set up. They feed Steve first, and then I let the rest of the public in. So it's a very selfish act to get good food that I can share with my community. Right. But it's a way of really making things happen. You know, sometimes you got to put the extra effort out to make it happen. And the basic rule of the market is if I won't eat it, it's not there. So everything is very high quality.
And also, let's repeat the name slow for them and the website address.
Well, the market is the Lipoa Street Farmers Market at 95 Lipoa Street in the shopping center where Fabiani's is located. In Kihei. So it's pretty easy. And we have a Facebook page, Lipoa Market. If you search it, you'll catch our Facebook page. We post every Friday what's going to be at the market. No website for now. It's basically word of mouth and keep it going.
Do you have tourists come through? Do you find them too?
The tourists show up towards the end, and we have coconuts for them, and we have honey and other things. Unfortunately, a lot of tourists, you know, don't cook, you know, so the tropical fruits, I mean, it's mango season, so they definitely go through the mangoes. But, you know, our job at the market is really feeding our community and supporting our farmers.
So here you hear a local market serving the local people. And, you know, we coexist with, I want to say, with the big box stores, the farm, the giant food delivery. When we think about greens and stuff, I can't help but at least bring up that health is such an issue. I wonder how our country has gotten where we are, but then I don't, because the money controls what we get in our food, and our whole system has really been designed and is creating what yours isn't creating. It's creating problems so they can solve the problems to make more money. And we all seem to know, and the things get put to the side. You're completely upfront about what you're talking about. And like you said, you did it selfishly so you could get some good produce.
Yeah, and it's grassroots. It's people helping people. It's at a local level. You know, the market is one example. The hemp industry as it comes here will be us kind of coming together as a community. You know, we see hope in hemp in us bringing together to build houses, to create food, and all aspects of our community will be involved. And we're really working at a grassroots level. We're seeking membership. Please go on the website, become a member. You know, the membership is, you know, basically $60, and you get a $75 bag of premiums, because we have two of our hemp sponsors make CBD medicines, and they've included their products in our free giveaway. So if you want to get started on CBDs and learn more about that, you can become a member and get some free CBDs at the same time. And the CBDs are one of the things that's going to really changing the equation here, because the word of mouth, the easy accessibility, and the effects that the CBDs are having on people's bodies are nothing less than miraculous. And like I said, if you have a friend who's taking CBDs, ask them. They'll tell you more than I can about how good it is.
when I think about all the growing and all the seeds and all the research that can be done here, I can't help but, what do they say? There's an 800-pound elephant in the room. They've now changed their name from Monsanto to Bayer. Have you spoken with those guys at all?
No, they haven't approached us. They have a different agenda. What the new agenda will be under the new corporate leadership, nobody really knows. And again, we're focused on creating positive solutions and getting people to join us.
What if they could be part of a positive solution?
Come on board.
Okay.
There's no reason.
So I'm going to make an open invitation. I'll probably also call you Monsanto, or Bayer, whatever, because I like to think that we are all a community. And what would happen if some of the resources that are used to protect ourselves from people that are trying to stop us, what if we could show the benefits? And like I say, there's nothing wrong with powers that be if those powers that be create what we as a people want. So I don't think of dirty money and clean money. I think of openness and truth and goodness that can serve us all.
And when they get down to looking at the economics, they will grow hemp.
Yeah,
they just haven't got, it hasn't been on their agenda yet. It's not big enough. People are afraid. And there's no way they're going to be able to capitalize or basically do any GMOs with the plant. It's a very complex plant. It's actually being studied and recorded. There are, ways of recording it so it can't be modified. And it's just such an incredibly complex plant that's not the issue long term,
So, when we're talking about their agenda, like you said, we're not even worried about the agenda, because if we can show them something of value and it can be delivered and it can help in their community, what a wonderful feather in their cap. And also shows that we're trying to bring a world together, not like some of our politicians that seem to I don't know if they're going out of their way, but they are polarizing our world.
Well, it's waking people up, and when people wake up, they actually can see the truth also. Besides, it takes a lot. We've been basically become a comatose society over the past couple of decades, and pretty much that is now starting to break down, and people are waking up pretty shocked. But those of us that have been in the know, myself, I've been a hemp advocate for 50 years, and that's a 5 and an O. Okay, back when I was a teenager, I discovered the cannabis plant and wanted to know why it was banned, and started doing the research and found out the history of hemp and all that. And I've been we call ourselves Hempsters, but I've been a Hempster from way back, never thinking that I would even be able to talk about it on the radio like I'm doing today. Back in the 70s or anything, if you even looked like you liked hemp and wore a hemp shirt, you were being frisked. So life has changed quite a bit, and so I'm a very optimistic. It's taken a while, but the recent changes in the past year even are just, it's a magnifying factor that most people, unless you've been watching it from the beginning, don't even understand. And pretty soon it'll be breaking through in much bigger areas. We've had some big breakthroughs. There's cars being built out of hemp right now. There are airplanes being built. Hemp resin is very similar to plastic resin, okay, except it biodegrades. You can make hemp water bottles that'll biodegrade in 3 months. Okay, you can make hemp plastic that you can build cars and airplanes out of, okay, that are biodegradable and don't require any petroleum in the mix. So,
are you catching how major this is? I'm sure you are. That's why you're still listening. It's very exciting to me. It's almost like when I talk about hydrogen in the health area. These are the frontiers that are making change and making it possible for us to have an alternative to what seems like a problem that we'll never get rid of. Imagine if instead of getting your next bottle made of plastic, you had it made of something that was biodegradable. That to me is fantastic stuff. And the fact that we can be self-sustainable 3,000 miles from anywhere for our building materials, and that we can take our waste and have it clean up our reefs and create building materials. Like, wow.
And don't forget the fun side. Hemp is a great attractor, along with cannabis. So, we're right now in the very beginning stage, and I'm reaching out to any musicians, and I need a promoter. We'd like to do a Hemp is Hope concert next year. Okay. We've had some commitments from some major musicians, but the Institute is not in a position to promote a concert, so we're looking for a promoter. would like to take our Hemp is Hope theme and join our musicians, and I'm sure everybody else, all the other musicians on island would come out to support the Hemp Hope theory and show people that it's going to be happening. We're planning major conferences here in the early 2020s. I mean, where else in the world would you want to go in February for a hemp conference but Maui? So it's going to help our tourism industry. It's going to help our value of products added industry, our food. I mean, just so much across the board. Like you said, there's really no negatives that we can find.
I keep wondering why I'm not hearing it more, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to get this front and center and show that there are solutions, not only problems, because God knows that's what we're in the middle of problem season. Between now and the end of the year, I expect many hands are going to be out pointing, and a lot of people talk about solutions quite round and round they go. And I think we were talking about it. You know, people that are out and running, they like to tell you what their general philosophies, but the question is, so what are you going to do with those?
And if you're listening to the show, you now have a little education about hemp. You can get more on the website, or you can call me and I'll give you more. But when you go to those political forums, ask those candidates what they're going to do with hemp. Ask them. They're all for hemp. Okay, I haven't spoken to a few, and they're not even running for re-election, and a few have just not been responsive. But I'd say 80% of our elected representatives I've spoken to personally, they're all for what we're doing. But what are you going to do? We need to get them an action plan. So whichever one gets elected actually does something next year.
Well, I think we should bring that idea not only to hemp, but to everything. Because a lot of candidates stand up and you wonder, why are they standing up? Because they want to show what they believe in, but do they know what they can do or what they should do? And that's why someone like you are, I would think, a great resource. You, and you mentioned Vince Mina, Sam Small. Sometimes I think that the powers that be hear these names and they think they're, vigilantes coming to stop them from taking what they've got. But no one's doing that at all.
Just a bunch of beat-up, dedicated guys who haven't given up.
Who have really would like to live a happy and sustained life and want to do good things. Yeah. That's fantastic. Now, we have a few minutes. I'm going to let a couple of my sponsors get heard here, and then we're going to come back and wrap up. Steve, you're a terrific guest. Steve Rose, again, from the Maui Hemp Institute.
For research and development.
Then the website is, again,
MauiHempInstitute.org. Facebook page is Maui Hemp. Please come out and support us. If you've got a group, I'd love to come talk, buy a T-shirt, take advantage of our membership offer. It's pretty awesome. We're very reachable. My email is mauihemp@icloud.com. So very accessible.
And now I'm going to let you know who makes this all possible. The Neutral Zone is brought to you by the kind donations from the MauiMiracle.org. The MauiMiracle.org. That's one. And here's another one. The Neutral Zone is brought to you by our kind donor, Cash for Gold, Ina Loan, at 52 and 98 North Market Street in Wailuku, Maui, 242-5555. I love showing my sponsors. Two very different people. The MauiMiracle.org, someone who is selflessly putting up a website and paying for advertising to be able to rally and get people to focus on the idea that the land is important and doing things that preserve Maui is important. And the other one is a longtime friend of mine, Richard Dan of Cash for Gold, Ina Loan. Until I was standing for 3 years on Market Street with Harry Eager from the Maui News, and we would be there speaking about all kinds of things. And I got to see just how wonderful and how well appreciated a pawn shop is. And they are really a service for a lot of people that can't go to banks, don't have good credit. They're wonderful. I'm really happy to have them as sponsors. Now, we got about a minute less, a little bit less, and I just know, I'm looking at my clock here, I just know that it has been a pleasure to have you, Steve Rose, on my show here. the Maui neutral zone. But, you know, you're a guy that is more and more important, and I hope that anything that we can do to help, we want to be there, because what you're doing is helping all the people on Maui and all the people in the world, and it takes brave people like you who are, you know, willing to take heat because people come at you without a lot of knowledge, and you've got, I want to say, not even ammunition. You are there serving our world. You're really a true inspiration to someone like me who puts out these words, but you're actually taking it and putting it into action. Thank you so very much for being with me here.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to bring our message out to the people of Maui. We do a lot of talks, lots of interviews. Look, check us out. I'll be at the Lahaina Rotary tomorrow, 7 a.m. at the Pioneer Inn. If you want to meet in person and join us at the Rotary meeting, we'll be talking more about hemp there and all over the island.
Well, great. Thank you, Steve. And thank you all for joining us here at the Neutral Zone. Aloha.
No matter where you go, no matter what you do, take that Maui style with you. Cause if you ain't Maui styling, you just living on an island. Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 There is sunshine in your heart. It's been with you from the start. Lift your head, look to the heavens, then you will feel brand new again. Don't stop me now, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Reach out your hand and help each other. Your mother, your father, your sister and brother. There is love in this family. Pick yourself up and get on your feet. Don't stop me now, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Pokela styling, Nakaibalu styling, Hawaiian styling, Kihei styling, Maula styling, Lahaina styling, Laiula styling, Napili styling.